Evening, guys. Another Q&A session with me and Alice, and it's Friday. I'm excited about this Friday because I am off next week. I'm taking the week off.
Lucky you.
First one since the start of April. So yeah, well overdue. This is the second week off I've had this year, and I'm taking one over Christmas. So
Amazing. That'll be nice. Got any plans?
um not massively. It's my birthday this week, so on Tuesday. So I think we'll probably go and do. We've got both my boys, so we'll go and do something in the
Ah,
morning, go for lunch, and then I'm getting old though now. It's when you get past a certain age, I'm not even going to say my age. You just don't celebrate them in the same way, which is a bit sad, but
yeah.
I my favorite thing to do is I don't care what we do as long as I'm spending some time with the family. That's it. So
Yeah.
I my
Nice.
birthday present is they choose what to do, and I've got a microphone. Realize I've got a microphone over there. There we go. They choose what to do, and I pay.
Perfect. That sounds ideal.
That's it. Let me just check I've got the right. I've not got the right microphone. There we go. And can you hear me now? Yes, you should be able to.
Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. You're all good. All good.
Cool.
Yeah. So we've got a couple of questions
Yep.
from Shaping Up and also from Instagram, haven't we, this week?
We
So
have. So I'll let you pick one first.
so this one wasn't as much of a question, but just I think especially this time of year with it being summer holidays, and it's more just balancing your weeks with your weekends. So a lot of the time now when it's nice, your weeks can be normal, you're still working, but then having a lot more social plans on the weekend, and it's how to balance them so that all your hard work through the week you don't then just undo in the space of a day or one evening or a weekend essentially.
Yeah, I mean it's difficult, especially if you're a parent at this time of year, because the
Yeah.
kids are off and you've got lots of things on. And I guess there's different ways of looking at it. I mean, the thing is, if you get it's different in the summer holidays. I think if you've got the kids and you're doing things, then I think part of it, and I've said this to a lot of my clients, you've got to reassess what your goals are at this time of year.
Yeah.
Is it realistic? If you're in a fat loss phase, is it realistic that you are going to be losing as much fat as you would any other time of the year? And maybe try and reassess and sort of think that, well, maintenance is a good goal because, as we've said before, you need to practice maintaining weight while you're in a fat loss phase because that's something that you've got to do long term. Um, but that being said, you've also got to be able to practice the skills that you need to maintain that weight long term as well. So you've got to practice moderation. And I think we said it last week as well. You've got to pick and choose. I think you said it about social occasions. Pick and choose which ones you're going to enjoy. Because if you've got like every weekend between now and the end of August that is busy and you're doing something on a Friday and a Saturday and a Sunday, that's effectively 40% of your week. If you're doing Friday night, Saturday night, it's Friday night all day, Saturday and Sunday, doing
Yeah.
stuff and over consuming, that's 40% of your week. And even if you're in a deficit for the other 60%, you're probably still going to overconsume. And you've
Yeah.
got to think long term, that's going to lead to fat gain, which is something that we're trying to stop. So it is about compromising. You can go out and do things like you can go out on days out and have strategies in place that will help you stay, if not exactly on target, certainly working towards it. So if
Mhm.
you're going out and having days out, then maybe take a picnic instead of thinking, oh, we can go and have fish and chips on the seaside. Or, if you're going on holiday and you've got the all you can eat buffet of an all inclusive, still practice those basic skills of
Yeah.
prioritizing protein and veg and so on. So I think the key thing is it is picking and choosing in moderation. And it sounds hard, and it is, and it sounds a bit harsh, but that's the reality of it. If your goal is to maintain a certain body composition, and we're not talking like shredded lean, we're just talking a body composition that you're happy with,
Yeah.
uh, then you've got to practice that moderation, and that's I know that because that's something that I had to do when I did my weight loss. It's a lifestyle change. It is.
Yeah,
That's the way to look at it. You're changing your habits. So
yeah,
rather than spending the entire weekend over consuming and then beating yourself up at the weekend, over restricting in the week,
yeah,
you've got to practice that kind of more consistent approach. Now, that's not to say that you can't have, the occasional sort of, it's not even, I don't like the word binge because that's got negative connotations, but it's okay to have the occasional indulgence. Let's
yeah.
say you're going out for a nice meal, for example, or it's your birthday.
I was gonna say your
For
birthday
example.
next week. That'll be one. Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm not going to, on my birthday, I am not going to worry about everything I'm eating because that one day, in the grand scheme of things, is going to amount to nothing,
yeah,
right? I eat fairly consistently for 90% of the year. That one day is going to have no impact. We're going to go out for lunch. We'll probably have a takeaway Tuesday night. I'll have a breakfast and I'll consume well over my calories. I'll have a drink, but that's one day.
yeah,
And it doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't make any difference. The rest of the week next week, even though I'm off, I'm still going to practice the same kind of basic routine. I'll still have a fairly good breakfast. I'll still have my overnight oats or I'll have something at breakfast. I'll still have a healthy lunch, and then maybe we'll have something a little bit more indulgent in the evening. But excuse me. Yeah, it is just about understanding that you've got to practice those skills of moderation and picking and choosing. I think you'll agree with that.
yeah, definitely. And like you say, there will be social occasions that either you can't avoid or that you want to enjoy. And the whole point of this and making it sustainable is that you shouldn't have to worry on those days. Like no one should have to spend their life thinking, oh no, I can't go out for dinner and enjoy that because I'm on a diet, or I can't have that because again it leads to that whole good and bad foods, which is what you don't want. Like there's, you've got to be able to enjoy those social occasions and not have to worry all the time. But you then do have to think about what your goals are, because like you say, if it is something where you're looking at fat loss, you have goals that you're working towards, going out every weekend, you are going to have to look and reassess that.
Yeah.
But if it's just once or twice, then yeah, absolutely. But like you say, if it's this time of year, you always find you're busier, then yeah, just look at maintenance for a few weeks. It it's not going to slow your progress any more
No.
than what it would than if you're trying to lose fat, but then over consuming.
And it is difficult because, you have this, if you are having weekends, you then fall into that trap of being good in the week, in inverted
Good.
commas.
Yeah.
And that's that binge restrict cycle. So you
Yeah.
binge at the weekends and over restrict, and that just makes it worse because you make yourself hungry by overly restricting in the week. So when
Yeah.
you get to the weekend, you think, oh, I've been really good in the week, so I've earned this. You
Yes.
don't earn those meals. You don't have to work to earn food. You can enjoy them, but if it means that you're then over restricting, it's not a good relationship. And it's very easy, if you restrict to 1,200 calories in the week for say 4 or 5 days, yeah,
Mm.
it's very easy to overconsume and eat 3,500 calories at the weekend. And doing that can quite easily, it certainly put you at maintenance, but could quite easily put you in a slight surplus. So it's really, it is something you've got to be careful with. And then the other thing that's just popped into my head is that um, I know it's hard for some people because they'll go to these events and they'll say, no, I don't want that. And then people go, oh, are you on a diet?
Yeah.
And you get guilt tripped into
Oh,
doing.
go on. One
Yeah,
won't hurt. Just
and
join
and
in. Yeah.
and that's something to be aware of. And if you find that happening a lot, you've kind of, if it affects you, then you've kind of got to sort of say, if I go to this social occasion, this is going to happen. And if it's going to happen, it may well be that you just say, actually, I don't want to go. And that's quite sad. But one of the things that you have to realize on this whole kind of health and fitness journey is that if you surround yourself with people who are going to make it difficult for you, then it's going to be permanently difficult.
Yeah.
You have to surround yourself with people. If you've not got if you struggle with saying no, then you have to kind of distance yourself from the people who are going to put that pressure on you. And that's something that I had to do, certainly around alcohol. I gave up alcohol for a good period of time because I was losing control with it about sort of 7 or 8 years ago. And I had to stop socializing with certain people because they were going, oh, one won't hurt. And if you've got an issue around controlling yourself around food, then you kind of have to pull back from those people a little bit until you have that control. Sometimes you won't, sometimes actually those people might just drift away, and that's not necessarily a bad thing either. It's a difficult one. I think overall though it is. I think initially you've got to pick and choose, and you've got to mentally tell yourself, I'm going to enjoy this event. This one I'm going to be sensible around food and drink, and drink's an important one. And then if that's not working, then you've then got to maybe think, well, I might have to just say no to some of these things, and it's hard, but sometimes that's the only way you can do it.
Yeah, definitely. Next one, do you need to eat protein straight after a workout or within 2 hours? Hearing different things. What's the right or wrong thing?
Proteins that protein, what do they call the anabolic
window? Yeah.
Yeah, the old gym bro one. Yeah, you've got to have your protein shake within 20 minutes or you lose all your gains. Yeah, that's been disproved. It's been absolutely disproven. The anabolic window is quite big. Depending on which studies you kind of look at, it's anywhere between 2 and 4 hours after a workout. So effectively, just eat your normal meals.
Yeah, whenever you'd normally eat. Whenever you train at that time. Whenever you'd eat at that time.
Yeah. And the other thing that's been done recently as well is they talked about, the other one is you can only absorb 30 grams of protein at a time, which has now been disproven. They've just done another study where they gave subjects sort of different amounts of protein, up to 100 grams in one hit, just to see see how the body kind of used it, utilized it,
absorbed it.
And it absorbed it, whatever amount it basically utilized and absorbed all of it. So if you are somebody who has exercised and you're not hungry and you're struggling to eat after that, or if you're worried about, oh God, I've missed my lunch, or I've not had all my protein in that meal, doesn't matter. You can you can put more at different times. So, and that's a good one. If people think, oh, I want cereal for breakfast, but it's not very high in protein, doesn't matter. You can get the protein later on in the day. Even if you need to have a protein shake at mid-morning, you can do that. It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah. There you go. Don't stress about it.
No, it's effectively just, you don't have to chug a protein shake straight afterwards. It's not going to be more advantageous. Just eat your meals at your regular times. If you find that, you have breakfast and then you train mid-morning and then you have your lunch, perfect. If you find that you're training in the evening, once you finish work and you're going to have your meal 2 hours later, it's fine. It's perfect. Just as long as you're eating sort of regularly throughout the day at regular intervals and at regular times, you don't need to worry about smashing down that protein within 30 minutes of a workout.
Perfect. Next one, which for us said, I'm going to learn something because I've not heard of this term before. What is carb confusion? Will it help with fat loss? Is it worth it?
Yeah, so this was one from one of the Shape Up girls. We're talking, I sort of said, have you got any questions? And she said, oh, I'm listening to podcasts. This is one of the things that she's doing as mindfulness, listening to podcasts a little bit more. And she heard about carb confusion, which I'd not heard the phrase before, but I kind of assumed that it meant carb cycling. So I did a little bit of research, and it is carb cycling. Carb cycling, effectively, you can eat different amounts of carbohydrates on different days. So for some people, Joe Wicks, the body coach, did it quite a lot when he first started. I don't know if he still does within his plan.
Probably, maybe. But the original plan was, very much.
Training days, you have carbohydrates to fuel your workouts. And then non-training days, you have low carbs, high protein. if it works for you, then absolutely fine.
Go
But
for it. Yeah.
it's not essential. It's just another way of controlling your calorie intake. You know, if you are massively reducing or cutting out an entire macronutrient, you're just cutting out a big chunk of calories. You know, and for the average diet, you're looking at, well, the average UK diet, about 60% of your calories are from carbohydrates. So if you've effectively cut most of those out, you're cutting out about 50% of your calorie intake. If you are on a fat loss plan, you're probably looking at 40 to 50% of your calories. So if you're reducing them on odd days, you're going to be cutting out a third of your calories potentially, or maybe a quarter. And that's all it is. It's just another way of putting you in that calorie deficit. There's no added benefit. Will it help with fat loss? Yeah. If it helps you get a calorie deficit, absolutely it can do. And if you find it easy to do, then do it. But it's not more advantageous. They've done ward studies where they've had volunteers and subjects in a controlled environment. They've literally had them on a ward. They've given them high fat, low carb diets. They've given them high carb, low fat diets. They've looked at, matched for calories, matched for protein, and all of that sort of stuff. And they've basically measured the fat loss over time, and it's the same. Fat loss over a period of time is exactly the same from whether you reduce your carbs or not. Weight loss, this is something to be aware of. Initial weight loss is higher on the fat loss, the high fat, low carb diet. Yeah, because we know that when we eat carbohydrates, it stores water. So 1 gram of carbs stores 3 grams of water. If you eat low carb, you are going to deplete your carbohydrates or your glycogen stores in your muscles. So, if you lose, say, 200 grams of carbs from your muscles, you're going to lose 3 times that mass in water. So that's 600 grams of water. So you can lose 2 pounds really, really, really easily.
Yeah.
And if you completely deplete your glycogen stores, you could potentially lose sort of 600 to 800 grams of carbs. And conversely, you could lose anywhere between 1.8 and 2.5 kilos of water. That's a big chunk of weight. That's why you see people on keto diets, they lose like 7 pounds in the first week. It's just water weight.
Yeah, that's all it is. Same as a lot of like the slimming clubs that you see as well. Like it's a very similar thing.
Yeah, it is. And they're getting you to control these carbohydrates, and you'll see this huge weight loss and go, yeah, big round of applause, big clap to Janet for losing 7 pounds this week. And then Janet next week, because she's depleted all the glycogen, there's no more massive weight loss to come. And it's like, Janet, you've only lost 2 pounds this week. What have you done? And she's done nothing different.
Yeah.
And that's just that. Yeah. And it's the same with any calorie deficit. If you are in a deficit, you are going to run your glycogen stores down, whether you eat carbs or not. And that's why we see that initial rapid weight loss,
rapid weight loss
at the start, and then it slows down. And that's something that not a lot of coaches kind of explain. And it's interesting. In my early coaching career, the organization that I worked for, they had this meal plan. It wasn't strictly a meal plan, but a kind of a diet plan that you could follow. And we kind of had these color codes on. So you had red foods, amber foods, green foods. I didn't particularly like it, never did, because this idea of red, amber, and green. They just chose those colors, but subconsciously they knew that, so it's like, right, you're only going to eat green foods for the first week. And green foods were high protein, low carb. So, and they weren't too high in fat either. So it was kind of lots of chicken breast, lots of white fish, lots of,
veg.
Loads of veg, low carb veg, green veg, a little bit of fruit like berries. You could have that. It's like, right, you could eat anything on the green one. That's what you're going to do for the first week. And for weeks 2 and 3, you can have green and amber. And amber were kind of some of the more complex carbs. So you get things like sweet potato was in there, but not white potato. And it was based on this idea of the glycemic index, about spiking blood glucose and things like that.
Yeah.
And then gradually you could then reintroduce some of the red
bread.
foods. And it worked. They'd get really, really rapid results. And it was designed to get them rapid results. And it was designed so clients could go, oh yeah, this is great, bought into you, and they were dead enthusiastic because they saw the results. But then after a month and the weight loss kind of slowed down, they were disappointed. And if you couldn't explain that to them, they'd fall off track. So I worked with PTs who trained these clients for a month, and then in the second month they'd plateau and then drop off. Whereas actually I sort of said, right, we're going to scrap that. This is what we're going to do. So we had a more moderate weight loss across it. So it's something to be aware of. There are a lot of coaches out there who will give you low carb diets because it gets you rapid results. But you've got to understand why. Low carb does mean that you lose weight quickly, but it's water weight. And once that's gone, it'll slow right down, and you've got to be prepared for that.
Perfect. And then leads us nicely, I guess, into the last one, where lowering your carbs will help you with losing weight, but will creatine make you gain weight?
Right. Well, this again is down to
we have covered before.
Yeah. Yeah, we have. Creatine's one of those. Creatine's a great supplement. Will it make you gain weight? Some people, yes. But it's not forever, and you've got to understand why. So we've said before, creatine is one of the it's part of the energy systems within the human cells. So effectively, the energy currency within a cell is a compound called ATP. I'm not going to say, because I get it wrong every time. It's adenosine triphosphate, I think. Don't hold that to me. But effectively, your body uses that for energy, and it converts it into ADP, and it loses this group called a phosphate group. What creatine does, when you take creatine into your body, it saturates, when you eat it, when you consume it, it saturates the muscles with creatine phosphate. And what creatine phosphate does is donates a phosphate back to that ADP, turning it back into ATP. So you've got more rapid energy going through. That's the basics. It's fairly simple. It sounds more complicated than it is. But effectively, you're just replenishing your energy stores, your quick energy stores in your body, so that you can get a lot of energy over a short period of time. It's great for things like sprints or short interval training, weightlifting. And because you've got more energy, because your muscles can generate more power for weight training, it means that over time you can build more muscle mass, which is why it's really, really good. And it helps maintain muscle mass as well. So it's one of those things, actually, they're starting to recommend that you should take as you get older. It's something that, as we age in an aging population, to maintain the muscle mass, we need to maybe use things. So weight training, increase your protein, take creatine. That's going to help maintain your muscle mass. It's going to help maintain bone density. There's all sorts of other stuff as well, like brain function, cognitive
function.
Mood. It's got benefits for improving mood and things like that. But that's why we take it. Now, when we saturate the muscles, it makes the muscles draw more water into them. So, one of the side effects of creatine is it can make you feel dehydrated. So you drink more water. If it does that, then it means it's working for you. It means if you keep taking it, you're going to saturate your muscles and you're going to bring more water into your muscles. And that is going to cause a gain in scale weight. If your scales do go up when you start taking creatine, it's a good thing, right? It means that you are responding to the creatine. It means that you are saturating your muscles and you are going to get the benefits from it. That is not going to be forever. It's not like you keep taking it and the weight goes up and up and up.
Keep going up,
So once you saturate your muscles, once you've hit that saturation point, the weight gain stops. And how much weight depends on how well you respond. It can be anything from sort of 1 to 2 pounds up to 4 to 5 pounds generally. Yeah. And for people so let's say, for example, you are mostly plant-based, you'll probably find that your creatine levels are quite low because we naturally find creatine in animal products. So if you are plant-based, then you're going to have low levels of creatine, and you're going to notice a bigger sort of change in water weight. But that's good because it means you're responding. And the other thing to understand is water weight. It's not fat,
Yes.
it is water weight. So there are some coaches, and I've spoken to a few coaches who actually say, I don't recommend creatine to my female clients who are looking to lose fat, because they see the scale weight going up and it messes with them and they fall off.
Yeah.
I think that's a shocking way of doing things, personally.
Yeah. Rather than what you should be doing is educating them on all the benefits and then just making them aware of the side effects instead.
Yeah.
So they will understand that actually that scale weight, if it does increase, that's the reason for it. They don't need to restrict more. They don't need to change anything there. It
Yeah.
will start to level out again. And it's, yeah, that's a much better way than just saying, oh no, don't take it. Because then you get this fear mongering on such a good supplement that has so many health benefits that then you've got this group that are now scared to try it because they don't want to see the increase in scales. It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
And and if you've got such a relationship with the scales that's what it does to you,
Yeah.
and stop weighing yourself.
Yeah.
Or you need to be coached into what's happening. Your coach isn't explaining things well enough to you. If the scale, weighing daily can be an educational tool as long as you are coached through it. And I'm not
Yes.
recommending everybody does this. I'm not saying that everybody should weigh daily, but
Mm.
weighing yourself daily and understanding that weight fluctuates normally, and having somebody sort of say, oh, your weight's gone up, what did you eat yesterday? Oh, you had
Yeah.
carbohydrates, you ate more salt.
You wait later, or yeah.
It's that week, it's star week on your cycle, or all of these things.
Yeah.
That's going to cause water weight to go up, or generally water weight. Any rapid spikes and drops is always water weight.
Yeah.
And it's going to be right. Your water weight's gone up. If you drink more water, if you eat slightly fewer carbs, it will go down again. And that's the thing. If you understand and you're educated on that, then that's absolutely fine. And then if somebody explains to you, look, creatine's great, the benefits long term are massive, but you've got to be prepared that over the next 30 days, which is how long it can take for your muscles to saturate, your weight might slowly go up.
Yeah.
Now, actually, if you are losing roughly a pound to a pound and a half a week, right, the normal weight, your weight will probably plateau. It might
Yeah.
plateau for a month because the water weight will go up at roughly the same rate that your fat loss is going. So if you're plateauing and you're in a deficit and you're taking creatine, then actually you're going to have more full muscles,
Yeah.
less body fat. So, it's a good thing. And this is where taking photos, looking at how your clothes fit, taking measurements,
Yeah.
these are all the things that are going to show you real progress, not just your scale weight.
Yeah, definitely. And it, like we've said before, use everything together.
Yeah.
Don't just use one measure and get caught up on that. There was one comment from the girls where they didn't like how their progress photos looked. And you can look at that, but alongside your scale weight, your consistency, your measurements, all of those things that if you can't quite see something in the photos, have a look at all your other ways that you've measured and assess from there, essentially. So yeah, try not to get caught up on, I think a lot of people, we focus on the scales because that seems to be the one that affects the people like the most.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes the other ones you can get a bit caught up in as well.
And it's a tricky one with the scales. I was speaking to a member at the gym this week who is torn. So she's she's trying to build muscle. So she's done really, really well at dropping a load of fat, and she's now trying to build the muscle up because she wants to have that kind of toned look that everybody kind of say, oh, I want to be toned. And she understands that she's got to build muscle, and she also understands that to build muscle, she needs to fuel the body. So she's eating roughly at maintenance, slightly above, and she understands that and gets it.
Yeah.
And she also knows that because of that, the scale weight is likely to go up very, very, very slowly. But that's really hard if you are in it, and she's struggling with it, because if you've been in a fat loss phase and you've seen the scales go down, all of a sudden, if your scale weight starts to go up slightly, and you maybe feel a little bit fluffy or a little bit more bloated, it's kind of, yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah,
People
it
find
can
it,
feel
and she's
difficult.
torn, and I just had to say, look, you've got to focus. You know, if at the moment it's building muscle, don't weigh yourself every day.
Yeah.
You know, maybe weigh yourself once every 2 weeks just to see that, you know, you're not overdoing it on calories. But look at measure, you know, if your goal is building muscle, then look at your strength. Is your strength going up? Are you lifting more weight in the gym? Are your workouts feeling better? You know,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And then once you've done that for kind of 6 months, reassess, see where you're at. Do you want to strip the body fat down and show off what you built? And
Yes.
that's a continuous cycle. I mean, your Tom does the same.
Not anymore, he doesn't, but did. Yes, that was
Yes.
like, that's very much that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do it to a certain degree. I was explaining to a client today, I will probably spend 6 months of the year building and then 6 months of the year cutting, but I don't do it to extremes. I'm not, you know, my weight can go up or down by maybe a stone. So I might, between now and January, I might gain half a stone to a stone because I'm building. And then from
Hmm.
January through to kind of May, I might lose a stone and then I'll maintain for a third of the year. So I kind of go sort of 4 months build, 4 months losing, 4 months maintaining. And that way, actually, I over the time, over the past sort of 7 or 8 years, I've gained, I worked out about 12 kilos of lean mass,
Yeah.
you know, and that's substantial. It doesn't sound like a lot. It's only like 1.5 kilos a year, but I'm only building for kind of, you know, £3, £3.5. I'm only
Yeah.
building for 3 months, 4 months, a third of the year, and then losing and maintaining. And I'm happy with that. I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm not trying to get massive. I just want to either build a little bit of muscle. So when I've got to a certain age, you know, maybe another 5 or 6 years time when it's like realistically, it's just maintaining. But
Yeah.
I want to try and build for the future.
Yes.
So
And I
yeah.
think that should be the goal, isn't it? You know, don't get too caught up on the now. Think about how it'll benefit you long term.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's somebody on Instagram that I follow. This woman lifts, and she, you know, she's like, I'm not training to get thin. I'm training for my old lady body, and I think
Yeah.
that's a brilliant. You know, I like to think of it as you're paying into a pension.
Yeah.
What you do now in terms of your diet and your exercise and fitness, you're not necessarily going to get all the benefits now. It'll be later in life,
Yeah.
and that's the way to look at it. So you're paying into a fitness pension.
Definitely. Yeah. And it will make that difference. You know, if you look at the aging population, I mean, I can look at it with like my parents. My mum and dad live very, very different lifestyles.
Yeah.
And, you know, my dad has always stayed very active. He still does now. He plays badminton twice a week. He goes to golf. He's always out in the garden doing all these things. Whereas my mum lives a more sedentary lifestyle. And, you know, you can see how much energy they have still through the day as
Yeah.
they're getting that bit older. And it's, you know, that's really what you've got to think about is
Yeah, it's the
planning for the
same.
future, isn't it?
It's the same with my parents as well. And you know, my mum
Yeah.
and stepdad, they do workouts on Zoom with me. You know,
They
they do
do. Yeah. They
workouts
join
two
join the
times a week.
Zooms.
My stepdad's 75. He can still do 40 press ups, four
Yeah.
sets of 10 press ups. You know, and he does it. And actually, they went on holiday, and this is the other thing. So they went on holiday recently, and he had a fall. He just tripped over his own feet, and he fractured a rib. Now, for somebody who's 75, if they're not physically fit and healthy, that could be quite a serious injury. You know, a
Yes.
fall, the way he fall, it might not just have been his rib, it could have been a hip.
Yeah.
But because he's active, because he trains in a way that he's trying to build and maintain muscle, his recovery's been quite rapid. You know,
Yeah.
it's a month on and he's back exercising. And it's the same with my mum. My mum did have a sedentary lifestyle, but she started training sort of 4.5 years ago, and is more active now, you know, and is actually building, you know, still being able to build a little bit of muscle, certainly maintain, build the fitness levels.
Yeah.
And but then when I look at my dad, who isn't as active, you know, he spends a lot of his time sitting. He claims
Yeah.
he's active. He says he's a farmer, but he sits on a tractor all day. Um, but you know, the worlds apart. My dad
The
struggles to
difference.
walk, whereas my mum and my stepdad, they do a 4 mile walk every morning. You
Yeah.
know, and they're the same age, and the
Yeah.
difference is massive. There is a really famous image. I don't know if you've seen this image where they've got three photos. They're cross sectional X rays of legs, The first one is a 40-year-old triathlete.
I've heard, weirdly, I was listening to a podcast today where they were talking about it.
So this cross section, and basically it shows like muscle, fat, and bone in the leg. So you've got a 40-year-old triathlete, and you've got this white circle in the middle, which is the bone. You've got this grey
circle around,
big thick grey circle, which represents the muscle, and then
muscle,
a very thin layer of fat around the outside. Then compare two 70-year-old males. One of them is a triathlete. And has maintained that muscle mass. So his leg looks exactly the same as the 40-year-old. And then the other one is a 70-year-old sedentary man. And he's got small muscles. He's got this huge, thick layer of adipose or fatty tissue. But the shocking thing is the bone in the middle is smaller. And that's the impact. It's not just muscle mass. It's the impact that you've got on your bone, your skeletal mass as well. And as you get older, if we don't protect the skeleton, we're at risk of breaks and all sorts of things. So it is something to kind of bear in mind. And I don't know who else has said it. I've read it somewhere. But you know, if you do the hard things now, it becomes easier later.
Yes.
If you do the easy things now, it becomes hard later. And I think that is absolutely true for your fitness and health.
Yeah, but it's true. You can apply it to everything, can't you? You know, if you're training for something, if you're working towards something, you've got to do the difficult bits now to give yourself an easier time later.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's a common question I get asked in sessions. You know, clients go, "When does this get easier?" And I've said this before, it doesn't. These sessions will stay the same difficulty because we're going to increase the weight. We're going to make you do more reps and sets. We're going to shorten the rest time. We might add a little bit of conditioning work in there. So these sessions will stay hard, but life gets easier. You'll get up the stairs faster. You'll be able to pick more things up. You can, you know, keep up with the kids, grandkids, whatever. So yeah, if you put the effort in within your training and your health and your fitness, and that's always going to be difficult. I don't think it does get easier, certainly around nutrition and your habits. You know, I find it a lot easier now going to train because it's something that I do normally. You know, there are still days where I think I really can't be bothered with this, but I go and do it because it's a habit. But it becomes easier to do those. The session's always difficult, but life becomes easier. You know, I'm approaching mid-40s this time. No, I am mid-40s this time. I'm 44 this year. And I'm in
you can't deny it anymore, Will.
I know. I'm 44 this year, and I'm better shape now than I was in my mid-30s and my mid-20s. And because of that, my life's going to be so much better for it later on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I think you've got to go.
That was the last one.
That was the last one. I think you've got to go and eat now before you go swimming.
Yeah, and now I'm like, what a silly decision to book in a 9 p.m. swim. But
you'll love it.
Again, we've got to do these hard things now, haven't we?
Yes. When's your triathlon?
Like 6 weeks, 22nd of September. So we've got a bit of time. We've got time.
It'll be
okay. I need to cycle more. The running and the swimming, I think we're okay, but I need to get on the bike more.
What, are you doing a sprint or a super sprint?
Sprint. I decided super sprint wasn't actually a challenge.
You'll I think you might regret that one.
I think I will. We're going to do a practice triathlon, which I think we'll do as like super sprint distance.
Yeah.
Add like a little practice.
Is the swim indoors or outdoors?
Outdoors.
Outdoors. Have you got a wetsuit?
I have. We've been practicing. I've done a few outdoor swims now. We've done the distance. So yeah.
I was going to say the one mistake I made with mine is not practicing outdoor swimming because, oh my God, that water's cold.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, like, it's more just the actual swimming in general. I've had to learn how to swim. I've had to learn how to front crawl. You know, and I've only had a couple of months to do it. But actually being in the outdoor water, to me, I've actually learned that one thing it has taught me is I found a new sport that I love. Like, I love outdoor swimming.
You're a
wig. I think I dive. I like diving. I dive in the UK a lot, and I haven't been for a while. And I think outdoor swimming just brought it back a little bit. So yeah, I've actually been really enjoying it. I've been enjoying the process of training for it. I think it's been good to have something. You know, we've had this for years. When you used to coach me, of I always needed something to work towards.
Yeah.
And I think coming back from injury, it was like, I need a big challenge. So why not go from not
Mm.
being able to walk to a triathlon? Let's
And that's the impressive thing. That's because we need to remember that was it a
18
year and
months
a half,
ago,
year and a
18,
half
yeah,
ago, nearly 2 years ago, where you broke your ankle,
in
and now
5
you're doing
places
yeah,
and
a
could not walk.
proper did a good job on it,
We
and
did a really good job on it.
yeah,
Yeah. And yeah, I had to learn to walk again. And
yeah,
now, yeah, to be running a 5K, to be able to do what I can do now, like I'm so grateful. And again, but it's again that whole fitness thing, like by looking after myself and being in that position to be able to bounce back and do it and now be doing this. It's yeah, I'm very
and you,
grateful for what my body can do. So
and
hopefully you
you
see
had
that.
another thing there, like you're saying, you're grateful. It's that other way of flipping it around, and I'm not always a fan of this one, but it is true in some cases. It's not that I have to do something; it's I
I
get
get to
to
do
do
it.
something, and actually that's for people who've gone through that journey and they've had the
Yeah,
transformation and the transition, they get that. I think if you're going through the journey, it's hard to understand that this idea of I
yeah,
have to versus I get to. And
yeah,
if you do get your head around that, it is a massive help. But that is
yeah.
something, yeah, it is
Uh,
massively beneficial.
It was one of the things that I think I was like that. I never really got it.
Yeah,
It was always like, yeah, okay, whatever. Everyone gets to do it. And I think until which is a very selfish, narrow-minded way to look at it. But I remember being sat on my sofa, not able to move on my own. I had Lando sat at the front door crying because I couldn't even take him out for a walk. And I just remember thinking, like, I cannot wait to just be able to take him to the woods again and walk around there with him. And I will never take that for granted again.
and
And I haven't,
and you
you know,
get to take him for a walk. And
yeah,
then you've got the
even
other
when it's miserable
exciting,
out.
yeah, and you've got the other exciting thing. Have you had your pack yet from?
No, did you see sending them out though? That
I've
was
seen
very
it.
exciting.
I
So
did
my
see that.
MNU pack is on its way. So yeah, not only will I be started like doing a triathlon 3 weeks after starting that, I'll be going back to uni in September.
Yeah.
So very exciting times.
And I've just had the reminder email for November the 23rd, I think it is, for
It
the
is.
live event, which is sports nutrition, which will be really
It is.
interesting.
Yeah, it will be a really good one. Really
Yeah.
good.
So lots of things to look out for. And actually, 4 weeks on Monday, we've got the next Shape Up program starting.
That's coming around very quick.
So it's amazing. Like we've got so much stuff going on. Yeah, really, really good, really exciting. I'm going to be putting more information about that, and I will be tagging you in it as well, so you can share it on your platform and your stories. Yeah, the new Shape Up 8-week program. So keep your eyes peeled for more information on that. And if you are listening to this and you're doing it, so girls, if you're already on the Shape Up program and you see the posts, please share because you know how beneficial it is. Carrie at the moment is on holiday and loving life. Her photo, she put a really good comparison photo up of this time last year compared to now, and the difference,
Amazing.
not just physically, just you can see in her face like so much happier and more comfortable. And I've had
Yeah.
some really nice messages from her, which I will put up on my socials as well. So no, it's good. Lots of exciting stuff. Right, I'm going to go and let
Amazing.
you have something quick to eat before you go
Fuel
swimming.
up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And we'll same again next week.
Yes. All right, then, guys. We'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.
Bye.